Chapter 408. In fact, it was common for him to have sex with his concubines in front of his subordinates. Nie Zheng is one of Jin Wang's biggest confidants. He doesn't know how many times he's seen his woman's naked body. As long as Nie Zheng takes a second look, Jin Wang will directly reward them. That's because for Jin Wang, a woman is a good thing. But compared to his other ambitions, it's not enough at all. Nie Zheng licked his lips. In his mind, he thinks that once Jin Wang has squeezed out all of Jun Mayan's value, he will definitely ask her to come over and properly enjoy her. He had never seen such a devastatingly beautiful woman before, and he had never desired her so much. Soon, even his undergarments were about to be taken off. Nie Zheng couldn't help but swallow his saliva, his eyes burning. Liu Beiyu's eyes are crimson red, and he's practically gone mad. He simply doesn't care about the thorns on his shoulders, and suddenly rushes over. How dare you blaspheme my master? I'll kill you. Get lost. Get lost. Nie Zheng's face darkened as he exerted force in his hand. There's a snap, the sound of the meridians on Liu Beiyu's shoulder breaking. Liu Beiyu screams and falls to the ground. One of Nie Zheng's feet stepped on his face, and the thorny vines on his hands suddenly tightened. You don't want your hands anymore. Do you want to become a cripple? That's great, I'll fulfill your wish. After saying that, he retracted his hand and stomped on the ground. There was a cracking sound, and everyone's expression changed. The maidservants were even more shocked. Aw, 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 aw. Liu Beiyu issued a mournful scream. He couldn't hold on any longer and fainted. His hands hung limply by his side. From his shoulder blade to his fingers, every inch of bone was crushed by Nie Zheng. Take him away. Nie Zheng revealed a faint smile, change him into new clothes and place him at the head table of the Wang Fei's paternal family. After all, this is the wedding of Wang Yi and the new Wang Fei. If Wang Fei's paternal family doesn't even have a guest, it would be inappropriate. Yes, my lord. Liu Beiyu is directly dragged away. The fresh blood left a bloody trail on the ground. It was a ghastly sight. Nie Zheng, however, laughed in an incomparably carefree manner. Then, his gaze landed on the girl on the bed. His breathing suddenly quickened. Looking at her up close, she finds out that Mayan is so beautiful. It was as if all the beauty of heaven and earth had been concentrated on this young girl. Her skin was as white as porcelain, her eyelashes were as long as fans, her lips were pink and tender, and her waist was so slender that he couldn't wrap his arms around it. Nie Zheng suddenly stretched out his hand. Give me the wedding dress. I'll wear it for her. Sir. Both the old maid and the servant girl were shocked. Nie Zheng revealed a cold smile. What? I can't do it. But she is the new princess after all. Ha! Nie Zheng sneered, so what if she's the new princess? When His Highness is tired of playing with it, he will still give it to us. What's more, which one of the women by Prince's side isn't someone we can casually touch? The guards all nodded, revealing lewd smiles. Jin Wangfu's favored concubines, those are all extraordinarily beautiful women. They've also been assigned one before, and that taste is really not bad. Just like the woman who was driven out of Jin Wangfu this time. Although it was said that they were chased out, they were actually given to these people. Almost every family of the people who followed Jin Wang had several beautiful and charming women. They could play and abuse them at will, completely without any misgivings. This is also one of the reasons why they're so dead set on Jin Wang. Chapter 409. There were even people who laughed and said, Lord Nie's eyes are truly good. Since Lord Nie has taken a liking to it, naturally no one in the mansion would dare to snatch it. I'm sure that once His Highness is tired of it, it will be yours, Lord Niez. Nie Zhang's eyes shone with excitement and greed. His hand slowly moves towards Mayan's lapel. However, before his fingertips could touch the skin that was smoother than tofu, a white light suddenly flashed before his eyes. Nie Zhang was caught off guard and his entire person was sent flying by a tremendous force. The qi and blood in his chest surged, and his qi was in so much pain that his face twisted. What's going on? Everyone was stunned by this turn of events. What had just happened? Nie Zhang was even more bewildered. What was that white light just now? What was that energy? How could it be so terrifying? It made him feel as if he didn't have the slightest ability to resist. But when he looked up, the girl on the bed was still sleeping peacefully without any change. The whole room was quiet and there was nothing out of the ordinary. Nie Zhang frowned and stood up. His gaze is fixed on Mayan, who is lying on the bed. A trace of ruthlessness suddenly flashes through his eyes, and he steps forward again. He didn't believe that he couldn't handle an unconscious girl. However, before Nie Zhang could make a move, the door was pushed open. Everyone was taken aback when they saw the red-robed man standing outside the door. Then, they all knelt down. "Greetings, Your Highness." Standing outside the door is unexpectedly Jin Wangye, who has already put on his wedding clothes. Following behind Jin Wangye is Bai Chen, who has already rushed back from the imperial palace to deliver the letter. Looking at the bloodstains on the ground, she thinks of Liu Beiyu, who had just been dragged away. Bai Chen gripped the hilt of his sword tightly. Liu Beiyu might not understand. But he was clear. Right now, Mu Yan was unconscious, so she should be advancing or breaking through. As long as she can endure this period of time, no one in this Jin Wangfu would be able to trap Mayan. Jin Wangye is also aware of this, that's why he's anxious to get married right away. Right now, the only thing he could do was to ensure Mu Yan's safety until the end of his breakthrough. Nie Zhang kneels on the ground, but he discovers that Jin Wang's fierce gaze has fallen on him, making him shiver as if he's sitting on pins and needles. "Your Highness," this subordinate, halfway through his words, Jin Wang interrupts him. "This prince told you to bring people to change this prince's princess wedding dress, not to let you touch this prince's princess." Nie Zhang was startled. He looked up, his eyes filled with panic. "Your Highness. Mu Yan and Ben Wang's previous concubines are completely different. If you dare to have improper thoughts in the future, then don't blame this king for being impolite." Meeting Jin Wang's bone-chilling eyes, Nie Zhang's whole body quivers, and he's so scared that his face turns white. In all these years, His Highness had never given him such a stern warning. It seems that Jun Mayan is different to Wang Ye. He actually wanted to lay his hands on Miss June and take advantage of her. Now that he thought about it, his vision went dark, and his soul almost flew out of his body. "Your Highness," this subordinate was possessed for a moment. "I won't dare to do it again. I won't dare to do it again." Jin Wang condescendingly looks at Nie Zhang as he kowtows. It wasn't until his forehead was bruised that he lightly said, "Immediately help Wang Fei change into the wedding dress. If you miss the auspicious time, all of you in this room will not be able to live. My Jin Wangfu doesn't raise trash." After leaving these words, Jin Wangye leaves. Chapter 410. Recalling the scene of Nie Zhang being bounced away, the maidservants and older women don't dare to take off Mayan's clothes again. He hastily helped her put on the phoenix coronet and red cape, using the red outer garment to cover the plain white inner garment underneath. The sound of suona and firecrackers could be heard from outside. The auspicious hour had arrived. Although the wedding was rushed, all the famous people of Huangyao country's eastern clear imperial city had been invited to attend. Jin Wangfu is bustling with people, bustling with noise and excitement. However, most of the people's faces were filled with doubt. How can Jin Wangye, who has always been known as a debauchee and a womanizer, suddenly get married? Before this, there wasn't even the slightest sign. Moreover, most people didn't even know who the princess was. Jin Wangye personally stands at the door, his posture casual as he salutes and thanks the guests coming and going. However, there was no respect or gratitude on his face. Even his tone and demeanor could be said to be neglectful. But who is Jin Wangye? That's the younger brother of the Emperor of Huangyao. His strength is out of the ordinary, and his power is monstrous. Who would dare to be picky about his attitude? For Jin Wangye to come out to greet them, they are already overwhelmed by the favor. With Jin Wangye's attitude, it's only when he sees a handsome youth with a sage-like demeanor that he greets him with large strides. Qing Feng greets martial uncle. As soon as the youth sees Jin Wang, he immediately salutes respectfully. Master Jian Feng has an important matter to attend to in Jingqing country right now, so he's unable to come. He specially ordered this disciple to attend Master Uncle's wedding. Hearing that Jian Feng can't attend the wedding, a trace of regret flashes across Jin Wang's face. But Qing Feng smiled and said, "However, Master made me bring a gift for Martial Uncle. I believe that Martial Uncle will definitely like it. I just don't know, Shu, who is always loitering around flowers, suddenly wants to marry a wife. What kind of beauty is he marrying? Ha ha ha. The auspicious hour is almost here. Qing Feng, you will know in a while." As the hour approaches, the entire hall of Jin Wangfu is packed with several hundred people. Every single one of them was a reputable figure in Donglin City. Even the Emperor of Huangyao country had sent a prince as a representative to attend the wedding. "Invite the bride into the hall to bow." As soon as the announcer's voice faded away, a few people supported a girl in red and walked out. The girl was wearing a dazzling red dress. She wore a dazzling phoenix crown on her head. The phoenix coronet beaded curtain hung down, making the young girl's face faintly discernible. But even with the bead curtain, everyone could still see the young girl's face clearly. Hiss! She's really beautiful. She's a peerless beauty in the world and a fairy beyond the heavens. It's no wonder that such a dissolute person like Jin Wang is also willing to marry her. But this girl looks a little unfamiliar. I don't think I've seen her before in Huangyao country. Which family is she from? She can actually become the real Jin Wangfei. I'm so lucky. That's right, each and every one of the women who follow Jin Wang don't have a name, and in the end, they don't even have a trace of them. For this girl to be able to become Jin Wangfei, presumably, her position in Jin Wang's mind is entirely different. But soon, everyone realized that something was wrong. Although the girl's face was faintly discernible, many people still noticed that her eyes were tightly shut. When he reached the front of the hall, he had to rely on the support of others. It was as if she couldn't move at all. What? What's going on? Why doesn't the bride seem to be aware? That's right, this person has no consciousness, how can he get married? At this time, Liu Beiyu's blood-stained clothes have been changed, and he has put on a festive gorgeous gown. But his hands were hanging down powerlessly, his face was pale, and even the light in his eyes was faintly discernible, as if he would faint at any time. Bean-sized beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. The pain from the broken bones in his hands was absolutely unbearable for an ordinary person. However, Liu Beiyu seems to have forgotten his own pain. He just stares unwaveringly at Jin Wang and Mayan, who are about to bow to the heaven and earth. His eyes turn a little red. Master! Master! In order to save him, Master was threatened by Jin Wang. That was why he ended up in such a state. Why was he so useless? In the past, Liu Beiyu didn't think it was a big deal that he didn't like to cultivate. Didn't they say that Jun Mayan has deep feelings for Jin Wang, and that they've already agreed on today's wedding date? Since that was the case, how could such a scene happen? Why do I feel like something is wrong? It can't be that this Enchantress of Medicine simply doesn't want to marry Jin Wang, right? I think it's very possible. After all, Jin Wang's reputation outside is too dissolute. Who would be willing to marry a girl from a good family? Alas, I originally thought that if the Enchantress of Medicine becomes a person of my Huangyao country, then wouldn't godly drafts like the filter of barrier breaking also belong to our country of Xianyao? In the future, we wouldn't have to be afraid of getting sick. But if the Enchantress was forced to get married, at that time, not only would she not be able to help my Huangyao country, she might even take revenge on our Huangyao country. Everyone's whispers fall into Jin Wang's ears. Chapter 413. There's a ruthless expression on his handsome face, gnashing his teeth as he says, "All of you, shut up. Today is Ben Wang and Jun Mayan's wedding day. Whether she's willing or not, she must become Ben Wang's wife." Saying that, his gaze falls on Mayan, the ruthlessness in his eyes slowly turning into malevolence. "Jun Mayan, Ben Wang originally wanted to treat you gently, give you the best love and the greatest respect. But since you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, then don't blame Ben Wang for being impolite." There's a swishing sound. Jin Wang pulls out a knife from the waist of the guard at his side. Pouring the mysterious energy in his body, he slashes towards Mayan's knees. "Ben Wang would like to see if you can still stand after cutting off the tendons and veins on your feet." Bai Chen's complexion abruptly changes. His hand suddenly grips the hilt of his sword, about to unsheath it. "Martial uncle, wait a moment." Suddenly, a gentle voice comes out, interrupting Jin Wang's movements. Jin Wang abruptly turns his head, his expression fierce. Seeing that the one speaking is Qing Feng, he restrains himself a little, but his complexion is still very unsightly. "Qing Feng, if there's anything, wait until after Ben Wang and Mayan have gone through the wedding ceremony." Qing Feng smiles faintly, taking a step forward. He says, "Martial nephew, here is the wedding gift that master wanted me to give you. If this Jun Mayan really doesn't know what's good for her, and refuses to marry martial uncle, then presumably, this thing will be useful to martial uncle." Jin Wang shows a suspicious expression. He sees that Qing Feng has already taken out a jade box, handing it over. As soon as he opens the brocade box, Jin Wang's expression immediately changes. This is called the Wuqi seed. Qing Feng shoots a glance at Mayan at the side, and slowly says in a voice that everyone present can hear, "Master said that as long as martial uncle takes the Wuqi seed, then within an hour, she will take your blood. From then on, she will be dead set on you, unswerving until death. Even if you make her climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a pot of oil, make her become a dog, she will never disobey you. Until death." Whoosh! As soon as these words come out, everyone present can't help but suck in a mouthful of cold air, their expressions filled with fear and horror. In this world, there was actually such a sinister thing. As long as this thing was planted, this beautiful and talented young lady would be ruined for the rest of her life. Jin Wangye's voice trembles with excitement. "The Wuqi seed, it's actually the Wuqi seed. Why would Jianfang be willing to give such a precious thing to this prince?" Qing Feng revealed a proud smile. "Even though the Wuqi seed is precious, it isn't the rarest thing to my master. What's more, today is martial uncle's big day. If I don't take out something good as a congratulatory gift, how can I have the face to congratulate you here?" Good. That's great." Jin Wang couldn't help but burst out laughing. The gloominess on his face just a moment ago was swept away. "Go back and thank Jian Feng for me," tell him that Ben Wang will remember this favor. As soon as he thinks about how this beautiful, moving, and unruly woman would be gracefully enjoying herself under his body after Wu Qi's seed has been planted, and how he can manipulate her however he wants, a blazing flame ignites in Jin Wang's eyes. She couldn't wait for the wedding to end immediately so that she could carry him into the bridal room. In front of all the guests, Jin Wang takes out the Wu Qi seed and swallows it. Chapter 4:14. The girl dressed in red just stands there quietly. Her eyes are lightly closed, like a lifeless, yet exquisite and perfect doll. And when those closed eyes open, they shimmer, able to hook away the souls of all men in the world. This is a real stunner. There isn't a man in the world who wouldn't be attracted, who wouldn't be moved by her. And such a stunner will soon become his, Li Jinting's, pet, to wantonly toy with. Swish! The cold light of the sword chi flashes, almost brushing past Jin Wang's face. His complexion changes, and he abruptly retreats, barely dodging it. Seeing the white-clothed figure standing in front of Mayan, Jin Wang frowns, coldly saying, "Bai Chen, what are you doing?" The one who just attacked is Bai Chen. And at this very moment, he's firmly blocking in front of Mayan. The long sword is pointed at Jin Wang, his expression calm, his back straight, motionless. "Bai Chen, Ben Wang admits that I've never treated you badly, but today, you actually want to betray Ben Wang for a woman?" Bai Chen indifferently says, "I owe Mayan a debt of gratitude, I can't just watch her die." "Then what about your fiancé's revenge? Don't tell me you don't want to avenge her." Jin Wang narrows his eyes, suddenly saying slowly, "Don't tell me you don't want to use Ben Wang as a springboard to sneak into the Heavenly Road sect, and get close to your enemy." Bai Chen's pupils suddenly contract. "You knew. You already knew." "Ha, I've always been a suspicious person, and the thing I'm most worried about is things that are delivered to my door. In the past, when Ben Wang tried to recruit you, you didn't want to, and suddenly delivered yourself to my door. Of course, Ben Wang had to carefully investigate. In this investigation, I found out a lot of unexpected things. Ben Wang thought it was very interesting, so I kept you by my side. However, your performance today really disappointed Ben Wang." Bai Chen frowns slightly, and his fear of Jin Wang deepens. This is truly a man with profound strength and incomparably deep schemes. Bai Chen wants to use him to get close to Gong Qinshue for revenge, and he also wants to use Bai Chen. "How about Ben Wang give you another chance?" Jin Wang reveals a devilish smile. "As long as you're willing to step aside, obediently be a guest, and enjoy Ben Wang and Mayan's wedding, Ben Wang promises to give you a chance to enter the Heavenly Road sect." He took a step forward and leaned close to Bai Chen's ear. He lowered his voice so that Qing Feng could not hear him. "I can even promise to let you get close to my junior sister, Gong Qinshue, and give you a chance to take revenge. What do you think? You've been lying low for so long, even becoming a dog by this prince's side. Isn't it all to avenge your fiancé? Don't tell me that you're going to give up your revenge for a woman you've never met before, Jun Mayan. Or could it be that you've already fallen in love with someone else and forgotten about your fiancé who died tragically?" The sword in Bai Chen's hand slowly lowered. Seeing this, Jin Wang can't help but laugh heartily. He passes him, wanting to feed Mayan the blood with the Wuchi seed. However, just as he stretched out his hand, a sword light flashes, and in a split second, the red groom's groom robe on Jin Wang's body is split open. There's even a sword wound on his arm. Bai Chen pulls Mayan behind him, and coldly looks at Jin Wang. "I want revenge, but I don't want to become a cold-blooded monster that Sitong doesn't recognize. If I become an ungrateful brute in order to achieve my goal today, how would I have the face to face Sitong? One day, when I kill my enemy with my own hands and go to the Yellow Springs, how would I have the face to face Sitong? A notice to my dear ones. Chapter 4:15. He points his sword at Jin Wang, and a powerful internal force is suddenly released. If you want to force Mayan to marry you, then you'll have to step over my dead body. All the guests present were shocked. Those who were closest to Bai Chen were trembling in fear. This is the pressure of a peak heaven stage. No, it's not just peak heaven stage. He's only one step away from innate stage. In just a few short months, Bai Chen's cultivation has risen from the high rank of heaven stage to the peak of heaven stage, only a step away from the Xian Tian stage. The former #1 genius of the Yanwu continent, when did he grow to this stage? This talent is no worse than Jingqing country's Princess Qianxue. Yeah. How old was Bai Chen? Definitely less than 30, right? I've never seen or heard of such a young Xiantian expert. Jin Wang's cold and sinister gaze looks at the wound on his arm. Soon after, it slowly falls on Bai Chen. Good. Since you're courting death, then don't blame this king. Nie Zheng. Jin Wang gives an order. Nie Zheng suddenly flew out from the crowd, leading a dozen or so black-clothed men, surrounding Bai Chen. In the blink of an eye, the wedding banquet had turned into a battlefield of life and death. Bai Chen's sword danced like a gust of wind. Nie Zheng, a peak heaven stage expert, along with more than 10 heaven stage experts, actually couldn't do anything to Bai Chen. The atmosphere at the scene was almost suffocating. Wounds began to appear on Bai Chen's body. The profound energy in his body was being consumed bit by bit, and he could barely lift the sword in his hand. Nie Zheng thought in his heart that his chance had come. The thorns in his palm quietly shot out. Ah! Liu Beiyu screamed, reminding Bai Chen. However, he was still one step too late. The thorns pierced through Bai Chen's abdomen. Blood gushed out like a waterfall, instantly dyeing his snow-white clothes red. How many of the guests present had never heard of Bai Chen, the dustless swordsman? How many people wouldn't admire and like such a young talent? Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but avert his eyes in disbelief. Liu Beiyu directly rolls down from the stool, letting out coarse and unpleasant wails as he wriggles his body, trying to crawl towards Bai Chen and Mu Yan. Nie Zheng looked at the thorns on Bai Chen's abdomen and laughed heartily. Bai Chen, to think that you would have such a day. He has long found this new pretty boy unpleasing to the eye. What Yanwu continent's #1 genius? That's just a joke, nothing more. He was still going to die in his hands today. Suddenly, Nie Zheng's laughter came to an abrupt halt. Because he saw that the handsome and pale face of the man in front of him slowly curved into a mocking smile. Before he could figure out what this smile meant, he felt a strong gust of wind beside his ear. With a swishing sound, a sharp pain came from his limbs. Nie Zheng's eyes abruptly widened. He opened his mouth, wanting to let out a mournful scream, but he could only watch helplessly as his hands and feet flew out, blood splattering everywhere. Ah! The screams finally pierced through the clouds. In just a few breaths' time, everyone saw Bai Chen's long sword suddenly fly up on its own. Like a bolt of lightning, it flew towards Nie Zheng. Immediately after, blood splattered everywhere and severed limbs flew everywhere. Both of Nie Zheng's hands and feet were chopped off, turning him into a thorough cripple. The entire audience was deathly silent. Chapter 4:16. Jin Wang lifts his foot and kicks him, sneering, "Since he's a waste, what's the use of saving him? Bai Chen, this prince really appreciates your talent, so I'm willing to give you another chance. As long as you step aside and hand Mayan over to me, Ben Wang will naturally spare your and Liu Beiyu's lives. What do you think?" Bai Chen's entire body was bathed in blood, but his face was even paler than a sheet of paper. His body swayed, and finally, unable to support himself, he knelt down on one knee. The long sword stabbed into the ground, supporting his tottering body, but it seemed like he would fall at any moment. "I've said it before," he slowly said in a hoarse voice, "if you want to touch Mayan, you'll have to step over my dead body." Before he could finish his words, everyone saw a red light flash before their eyes. Jin Wang's figure has already disappeared. Then, a hand grabbed Bai Yichen's neck and lifted him off the ground. Crack crack. A terrifying voice rang out. Bai Yichen's throat had been crushed. And Jin Wang's pressure and killing intent are also released without reservation. Bang! Someone fell to the ground in fright. Someone's face was pale, and his face was filled with shock. Innate. The seemingly dissolute and debauchee, ignorant and incompetent Jin Wangya actually has a pre-celestial cultivation. Even Qing Feng's pupils constricted. Even he did not expect that Uncle Master Jin Ting's cultivation had already reached such a high level. Looks like I have to report this to Master when I return. Since you can't say anything nice with that mouth of yours, then you might as well never speak again. There's a cruel smile on Jin Wang's face. Since Ben Wang can't use your cultivation, then there's no need to keep it. Boom! The powerful profound energy exploded on Bai Yichen's already injured abdomen. Bai Yichen spat out a mouthful of blood as all the profound energy in his body dissipated. Jin Wang swings his hand, directly throwing Bai Yichen out like a broken sack. He then took out a handkerchief and slowly wiped off the blood stains on his fingers. His sinister gaze swept across everyone present. Did you see it clearly? This is the result of opposing this king. In the past, he disguised himself as a silk pants because he wasn't strong enough. He had no choice but to feign weakness so as not to arouse the fear of the Emperor of Huangyao. But now, he has Jun Mayan and godly drafts. In this world, no one is his opponent. As a result, Jin Wang's true colors of ruthlessness, and exuberant ambition are revealed. Liu Beiyu pounces over in a frenzy. He bites Jin Wang's calf, stopping him from moving forward. But he gets kicked away by Jin Wang, and even the bones in his leg are crushed. At this point, no one can stop him from planting the Wuqi seed in Mu Yan. In other words, no one dared to stop him anymore. Fresh blood is forced out from Jin Wang's fingertips, and is slowly delivered to Mayan's mouth. As long as this blood is fed, Mayan will henceforth become Jin Wang's slave and puppet, at his mercy. The blood slowly approaches, staining Mayan's light pink lips. It was about to seep into his mouth. Suddenly, a dazzling white light mixed with golden light emits from Mu Yan's body. Powerful energy seemed to explode between the two of them. Jin Wang is caught off guard, and his whole body is sent flying. This time, it's not only Jin Wang, even Mayan is affected by this explosive power. He flew out like a kite with a broken string. Chapter 4:17. The girl in red is flying very high, like a beautiful fluttering butterfly. But right now, she can't budge even half a step. If she were to fall from such a high altitude, her bones would inevitably break, and she might even die. Some people cover their eyes, unable to bear to watch. Some people also try to rush over, wanting to catch her. However, the next moment, everyone is stunned by the scene before them. Who is that? How could he be holding the bride? Wait a minute, when did he appear? How come I didn't notice him at all just now? Everyone raises their heads to look at the sky. Light and shadow intertwine, and they see a tall and imposing figure quietly floating high in the sky at some point in time. As the girl in red flies away, his figure flashes, and he pulls that figure into his arms. One is dark purple, the other is bright red. They slowly rotate in the sky, their sleeves fluttering in the wind, as if they're one. It's as if they're refracting sunlight, as beautiful as a scene that could only appear in legendary stories. When the two figures land, everyone can clearly see the appearance of the newcomer. If it's said that Jin Wangye is also a famous handsome man in Huangyao country, moving people's hearts, if it's said that Bai Chen is as gentle as jade, incomparably handsome, making people fall in love with him, then the man before them is the one who disdains the world, the one who makes people look up to and submit to him. So much so that the first thing that people notice isn't his outstanding appearance that could make women go crazy. Instead, it's his imposing manner. It's that peerless magnificence that's colder than the cold, hotter than the blazing sun, and loftier than the gods. Everyone's gazes fall on him and the girl in his arms. The phoenix coronet has long fallen to the ground, broken into pieces, revealing the girl's absolutely beautiful and elegant appearance. Even if her eyes are closed, they still can't hide that incomparably bright beauty that can amaze the world. At this moment, they suddenly feel that these two people should be a match made in heaven. As for Jin Wangye, even if he's also considered handsome and powerful, he's far from worthy of this girl. Who are you? You dare to come to Ben Wang's wedding and make trouble. Jin Wangye stands firm with great difficulty. When he sees the man holding Mayan, an indescribable jealousy and fear suddenly surges in his heart. It's precisely because of this spontaneous fear and jealousy that he becomes angry out of humiliation. With a wave of his hand, the guards of the Wangfu immediately rushed over from all directions, surrounding the man and Mu Yen. Mother! A crisp, childish voice sounded with a hint of nervousness. Only then did everyone realize that the godlike man was holding on to a little boy who looked like he was carved from jade. As soon as the little boy sees Mayan, he immediately rushes over, the rims of his eyes slightly red. Nyangqin, Xiao Bao and Daddy are here. I will never let anyone bully you again. Her small fists are tightly clenched, and her big blue eyes look towards Jin Wang, brimming with killing intent. The word daddy is said very softly, even Di Mingju didn't hear it. Or, it could be said that Di Mingju's entire mind is focused on Mayan at this time. Looking at the wedding dress of the girl in his arms, the bloodstains on her body, and her pale face, he couldn't help but sigh. The corner of Di Mingju's mouth slowly hooks up into a tiny arc. However, his usually deep blue eyes were bone-chilling, as if he wanted to freeze everything in the world into ice. Han Yi and Ning Mei, who arrived a step too late, almost tremble in fright when they see this scene. Everyone in the polar domain knew. Jun Shang almost never smiles. Chapter 418. Because when Jun Shang shows such a smile, it means that he's really angry. When an emperor gets angry, corpses float for thousands of miles. Even if it's any sect in the immortal cultivation world, they still wouldn't be able to bear Jun Shang's wrath. The people in this Jin Wangfu, they're all doomed. You're that bastard that Jun Mayan gave birth to. Jin Wang suddenly opens his mouth. In that case, you're the adulterer that stayed in the Junji Medical Center. Today, you've delivered yourselves to the door. That really couldn't be any better. Di Mingju slowly lifts his head, his gaze meeting with Jin Wang's. Jin Wang suddenly quivers all over, a bone-piercing chill shoots up from his tailbone, straight to his whole body. However, when he sees the blood on Mayan's lips, he immediately bursts into laughter. I don't care who you are, or what you want to do, but you're already one step too late. Do you see the blood on Mayan's lips? That's my blood that contains the Wuchi seed. Mayan must have already swallowed that blood by now. When she wakes up, she'll become my puppet. Haha. Jin Wang's laughter comes to a screeching halt. That's because he sees Di Mingju suddenly bend down, kissing Mayan's lips. With their lips sticking together like this, that blood naturally stains Di Mingju. Ha, ha 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 ha, you're actually courting death. Jin Wang simply looks like he's seen the biggest joke. This Wuchi seed can create at least 5 puppets within an hour. It's just that the duration of the drug's effect will be reduced, that's all. You swallowed Ben Wang's blood, that's the same as Ben Wang planting the Wuchi seed, ha ha ha, you'll soon become Ben Wang's puppet. Han Yi sneers at Jin Wang, his eyes full of pity and disdain. Ing Mei's hand grips the scabbard, his entire body is like a taut bowstring, ready to go, waiting for Di Mingju's order. After a long time, Di Mingju finally lets go of Mayan's small mouth. The pink lips are a little red and swollen from the kiss, but the blood on them has already been wiped clean by Di Mingju using a special method. He narrows his eyes, then he lowers his head and punishingly bites those captivating red lips. Only then does he look at Jin Wang. You want Ben Jun to become your puppet? A low and cold voice slowly resounds. Jin Wang trembles, an indescribable fear welling up in his heart. Moreover, this man had clearly drunk his blood, but the mother goo of the Wuchi seed in his body had not changed at all. There wasn't even the slightest bit of connection. Why? Could it be that the blood just now had lost its effect? Not to mention Di Mingju, he couldn't even sense the Wuchi seed on Mayan's body. Go, all of you go. Tear these people into pieces. Di Mingju's eyebrows droop. In a low and deep voice, he slowly says, dismember a corpse into 10,000 pieces, not bad. As you bid, Jun Shang. Han Yi bows in response. Ing Mei, on the other hand, had already darted out. Like a ghost, his figure shuttles back and forth between the black-clothed bodyguards of Jin Wangfu. It was unknown how much time had passed. It seemed very short, but at the same time, it felt as long as he had sunk into the 18th level of hell. Jin Wang gasps for air. Pieces of severed limbs, flesh, and even heads were thrown in front of him. Dismemberment. This was truly dismemberment. He had spent a lot of effort and money to nurture these men of sacrifice. No matter which one of them goes out, they can move unhindered in the Yanwu continent. Chapter 419. Han Yi throws the head of the last black-clothed guard in front of Jin Wang. Beaming, he says, this Wang Ye, I wonder if you're satisfied with this method of dismembering corpses into 10,000 pieces. All the guests were dumbfounded by the sudden change of events. Some of the more timid ones even hid under the table. There's also someone who keeps shouting, I just came to attend the wedding banquet, it has nothing to do with me. I'm not a person of Jin Wangfu, don't kill me ah. Even Qing Feng's face was deathly pale. He stealthily hid in the corner of the wall, hoping to take advantage of the chaos to escape. Jin Wang's eyes bulge out, and he stares at the corpses piled up like a mountain in front of him. He opens his mouth and says, you, in the end, who are you people, giggle, what enmity do you have with my Jin Wangfu? Hee. Why did you have to kill him again? It's only when he's talking that Jin Wang discovers that his teeth can't help but chatter. His legs were trembling uncontrollably. Because the moment he sees Han Yi and Ing Mei make their moves, he clearly realizes that he's no match for these people. What's more, the most frightening man holding Jun Mayan still hasn't made a move. Since he had no chance of winning, he could only show weakness. Where there is life, there is hope. Han Yi sneered, what enmity? This enmity was huge. You stole our Jun Shang's fiancé, and you still ask us what kind of enmity you have with us. Sure enough, he's Jun Mayan's adulterer. Jin Wang grits his teeth, but there's a smile on his face. Ben Wang, at first, Ben Wang didn't know that Mayan, no, Miss Jun is your fiancé. Otherwise, this one wouldn't have snatched away your love. However, this prince swears that I have never touched Miss Jun. While Miss Jun is staying here, this prince has treated her with courtesy, never daring to neglect or force her. Now that we know it's all a misunderstanding, why don't we just let it go? Jin Wang still hasn't finished his fawning words. Xiao Bao suddenly seems to have seen something. He releases Di Mingju's hand and rushes out. Lu Beiyu. Uncle Rabbit Lantern. His small hands were trembling. He wanted to touch it, but he didn't dare to. The two people in front of him could no longer be described as humanoid. Whether it's Lu Beiyu or Bai Chen, both of them are drenched in blood. From top to bottom, there isn't a piece of skin that is unharmed. The wound on Bai Chen's abdomen was still bleeding profusely. The tendons and meridians in his body were empty, without the slightest bit of profound qi. He's the most dazzling young talent in Yanwu continent, but at this very moment, he's a cripple who can no longer cultivate. Xiao Bao abruptly lifts his head, glaring fiercely at Jin Wang. You're the one who put Junior Brother and Uncle Rabbit Lantern in this state. The person in front of him was just a 4-year-old child. Jin Wang is inexplicably flustered. Especially when he sees Han Yi and Ying Mei slowly coming forward with swords in their hands. Ben Wang only saw that they were hooking up with Mu Yan, and their relationship was too intimate, so he beat them up out of jealousy. That's right. Today's wedding was also held because Mu Yan herself said that she wanted to marry Ben Wang. I really didn't know she had a fiancé. Chapter 420. Moreover, I'm guessing that this bastard isn't your biological child, right? You see, Jun Mayan was able to give birth to a bastard child with other men back then. Now, she can naturally seduce other people as well. Today's wedding, it's also because she delivered herself to the door, taking the initiative to seduce. Jin Wang's voice suddenly stops, then he lets out, sounds. However, he can't close his open mouth no matter what. Di Mingju holds the still unconscious Mayan in his arms, and steps forward. Ben Jun doesn't like to hear bad things about my fiancé and my son from other people's mouths. Jin Wang's face is full of pleading, and he keeps making noises to beg for mercy. Just now, he wanted to use words to sow discord between Di Mingju and Jun Mayan. Which man isn't jealous? Which man doesn't want to be exclusive? Knowing that Jun Mayan is hooking up with other men, this man would definitely go mad with jealousy, thus diverting his hatred away from himself. However, his meticulous plan to sow discord didn't succeed. On the contrary, it made him feel real fear. Han Yi, Ben Jun wants Mayan to wake up. There's no need to let Mayan hear those unpleasant words. Yes. Jun Shang. Han Yi smiles merrily as he walks in front of Jin Wang. He lifts the sword in his hand, and gently taps it against Jin Wang's teeth that he can't close. Tell me, how can I make you unable to speak, and also unable to spew shit? Jin Wang desperately shakes his head, wanting to retreat. However, his body seems to be bound by an invisible force, completely unable to budge. Oh, these teeth are a bit ugly, let's break them all first. There's no use in tongues, just cut them off. Oh, you also seem to have crushed someone else's throat. It'd be better to let you have a taste of what it's like to have your throat crushed. After a while, all of Jin Wang's teeth fall out, his tongue is cut off, and his throat is crushed. Even the bones in his entire body are smashed inch by Ying Mei. That wretchedness seems to be twice as heavy as Lu Beiyu and Bai Chen. Ying Mei originally wanted to cover Xiaobao's face to prevent him from seeing such a bloody scene. But Xiaobao resolutely pulled her hand away. This scoundrel injured Junior Brother and Uncle Rabbit Lantern so badly, and still wants to lay his hands on Mother. I want to see him receive the retribution he deserves. However, Ying Mei was reluctant to let go. After all, he was just a 4-year-old child. Since you are the future successor of the polar domain, if you can't even bear this little bit of bloodshed, how can you bear the future of the 3 realms? In the end, it's Di Mingju's words that making Mei retreat. Just like that, Xiao Bao's eyes widen as he watches Jin Wang turn into a complete and utter cripple. He only faints after tasting hellish suffering. Just then, Di Mingju withdraws his hand from Mayan's wrist. The girl's long eyelashes fluttered as she slowly opened her eyes. Mu Yan feels like she's having a long dream. The dream was grotesque and dazzling, desolate and empty. In her dream, she smelled blood, felt anxiety, and tasted loneliness and fear. He desperately tried to wake up, but he couldn't. Until a warm, broad hand clasps her wrist. Her surroundings are clearly still a stretch of desolation, remote and uninhabited. But her body feels like it's being pulled into a familiar embrace. Chapter 421. What kind of energy is this? Is it mysterious energy? No. It's not mysterious energy. It's purer than mysterious energy, and it's not more mellow. It's like a natural spirit that nourishes all things in the world. As soon as it enters her body, it makes her dry meridians moisten like a spring rain, recovering little by little. And what's even stranger is that as this energy rushes in, there seems to be another kind of power inside her body, circulating in her meridians, and finally converging in her lower abdomen. But it's not internal force, and it doesn't converge in her qi. Instead, it's another, more mysterious space, storing energy that she has never felt before. What is it? Why does she feel that this energy is somewhat familiar? It seems that she had also felt it a long, long time ago. A long, long time ago, thunder rolls in the sky, thunder clouds 10,000 feet high, and her body is burning with pain. However, as the thunder and fire fall, the meridians in her body begin to transform inch by inch. The qi that originally condensed mysterious energy also begins to change, gradually producing another kind of unfamiliar and powerful energy. That's spiritual power. It's the spiritual power that every practitioner in Yanwu continent yearns for even in their dreams. Mayan suddenly opens her eyes, but she closes them again because of the intense light. The scene in front of her becomes clearer little by little. Nyangqin. She hears Xiao Bao's voice calling out. There's also the man's low murmur, Mayan. Soon after, 2 pairs of almost identical eyes come into view. One big and one small, but they're so similar. It's not just that these 2 pairs of eyes are similar. They're even more similar to those eyes in her memory. In the pitch-black cave, only the contact of their bodies is so hot, only those eyes are so scorching, as if they're reflecting into her soul. That night that she never wants to recall again. Pain, suffering, chaos, intoxication, the 2 of them flirting with each other. At that time, it was also this pair of eyes that kept appearing before her eyes. Di Mingju's eyes, why are they so similar to that pair of eyes? Mayan stares at the man's handsome face in a daze, and those deep and serene eyes. She's almost a little silly. No, that's not right. In her memory, those eyes were crimson, berserk, and almost couldn't reflect anything between heaven and earth. Apart from her cherished Xiao Bao, he only brought her that day and night of pain and humiliation. But in the depths of Di Mingju's eyes, his own shadow is fully reflected. Even if this man pretended to be cold and arrogant, his sincerity was still in front of her. Mu Yan, what's wrong? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Noticing that Mayan is staring blankly for a long time without any reaction, Di Mingju's cold expression finally can no longer be maintained. His eyes were filled with anxiety. Xiao Bao was on the verge of tears. Mother, don't scare me. Mayan coughs a few times, and her pupils finally focus slowly, falling on Xiao Bao's face. Baby? Mother. Xiao Bao fiercely pounces into Mu Yan's arms, tightly hugging her neck, his small body trembling non-stop. In front of Di Mingju, she stifled her crying. In Mayan's arms, she finally couldn't help but cry. The little child was soft and sobbing like a kitten. Mother. Mother. Xiao Bao thought that he would never see you again. He wasn't wailing or hysterical at all, but it made people's hearts soften as if they were soaking in warm water. Chapter 422. Baby, don't cry. Nyangqin loves Xiao Bao the most. How could I not see Xiao Bao and leave him? Be good, don't cry. Don't you see that Nyangqin is fine? On the side, Jun Shang, who especially wants to hold his beloved in his arms and properly express his heartfelt feelings after parting, with great difficulty, Mayan coaxes her son, who rarely cries like a tearful person. When she looks up, she sees the man's gloomy, yet indistinctly resentful and wronged face. She can't restrain her smile from spilling over. She doesn't know a lot of things that happened while she was unconscious, but in the end, Di Mingju caught her in the air. This man's stiff, nervous embrace that's almost trembling, she has a hazy impression of it. And when she opens her eyes, she sees the man's frantic and eager expression. It's really too incongruous with his usual callous and unruly appearance. But it's also because of this incongruity that Mayan's heart is so soft, so hot. Di Mingju, thank you for coming to save me. Di Mingju slightly lowers his eyes to look at her, his complexion finally a little better. But his gaze becomes hotter and hotter. So, are you ready to devote your life to me? Mayan, can this man not devote his life to every 3 sentences? That's right, Nyangqin. Xiao Bao finishes venting his emotions. He seems to have suddenly thought of something, and urgently calls out, Junior brother, and Uncle Rabbit Lantern, they're all seriously injured. Mayan is startled, and promptly looks towards where Xiao Bao is pointing. When she sees the tormented Lu Beiyu and Bai Chen, Mayan's eyes suddenly widen. Her breathing almost disappears for a moment, then suddenly becomes heavy. Displeasure and worry flashes through Di Mingju's eyes, but he doesn't have time to speak. Mayan's figure suddenly disappears from where she stood, and appears next to Lu Beiyu and Bai Chen. Nyangqin, are they going to die? Xiao Bao's voice is soft, with a trace of frailty and fear. He's too young. Even if he's calm and mature, he still can't understand true death and separation. But when he thinks that his junior brother and Uncle Rabbit Lantern might disappear from the world forever, his heart feels indescribably uncomfortable. It's like being pressed by a heavy stone. Mayan feeds the draft in her hands to the 2 unconscious people. After making sure that the 2 of them have swallowed the drafts, he slowly exhales. Of course they won't die. Mu Yan turns to look at Xiao Bao, her expression focused and resolute. Nyangqin won't allow them to die. Not only will I not allow them to die. Mu Yan's line of sight slowly falls on Lu Beiyu and Bai Chen. I want them to completely recover, and even live better than before. Hearing Mu Yan's words, Xiao Bao's taut little face immediately softens. Looking at Mayan, his big eyes are full of trust and worship. Since Nyangqin said that junior brother and Uncle Rabbit Lantern won't die, then they definitely won't die. Nyangqin has never failed to do what she said. Lu Beiyu and Bai Chen absorbed the medicine that confirmed the mysteries of maintaining life. Mu Yan then takes out her silver needles and inserts them into several major acupoints. Her heart felt like it was being gripped tightly by something, painful and regretful. Because she knows that Lu Beiyu and Bai Chen have fallen into such a plight because of her. However, her hands were very steady. There was not the slightest deviation in each needle. Chapter 423. The only thing she had to do now, the only thing she could do, was to race against time to snatch them back from the hands of the Grim Reaper. Give them a perfect future. Following the insertion of the silver needles, Mayan seems to have entered a mysterious realm. In the wedding banquet hall of Jin Wangfu, there are still a lot of people who are scared out of their wits, shivering with fear. Xiao Bao and Di Mingju are nervously concerned about her safety. Pained and despairing gasps are constantly emitted from Jin Wang's body, which is like rotten flesh. However, she seemed to have forgotten the existence of all these. In her eyes, there were only the silver needles in her hand and the two patients. Unknowingly, the tip of the silver needle was slowly covered with a layer of silver light. Ordinary people would not be able to see that radiance. But when Mei and Han Yi turn their heads and see the fluorescent light on the needle, they're so shocked that their jaws almost hit the ground. That wasn't that spiritual power. But isn't this the Yanwu continent? How could spiritual power be used? Even for them, they have to transform their spiritual power into an energy suitable for the Yanwu continent before they can use it. This also caused their strength to be suppressed to the lowest level on this continent, not even 1/100th of their original strength. But why is Miss June able to use spiritual energy? Although it was only a little bit, it was indeed a genuine spiritual power. Wait a minute. Since when did Miss June have spiritual power? Don't tell me that the 9 stars linked to the moon, the battle of the stars and moon, was really caused by Miss June. She remolded her spirit root in the Yanwu continent. Moreover, it's the moon spirit root that hasn't appeared for thousands of years, the only one that's compatible with Jun Shang. Han Yi abruptly turns his head to look at Di Mingju. He couldn't help but shout, Jun Shang, however, his voice stopped abruptly. The shock on his face was slowly replaced by a strange, complicated, and hopeless look. Not far away, their Jun Shang is holding the little master. His eyes stare unblinkingly at Mayan, who is applying the needles. 2 pairs of beautiful blue eyes that are almost exactly the same, even the emotions blooming in them are exactly the same. Infatuated and proud. Xiao Bao, mother is really omnipotent. Nyingqin is unrivaled when she's serious. Jun Shang, of course the woman that Ben Jun has chosen is powerful. Yan Yan is really delicious when she's serious. Han Yi, he felt like he could read the meaning in the eyes of the adult and the child. But Jun Shang, you, as the master of the polar domain, the monarch that everyone in the Shushan continent revered and feared, is it really good for you to show such an idiotic expression? On this side, because Mu Yan wants to save Liu Beiyu and Bai Chen at the best time, she's completely immersed in her own world. On the other side, Qing Feng had already retreated step by step to the corner of the wall. Taking advantage of the few people not paying attention, he suddenly flipped over and jumped out of the window. Qing Feng heaved a sigh of relief when he noticed that no one had noticed him. Then, his eyes suddenly became extremely gloomy. His uncle master, who was a Xiantian cultivator, was killed just like that. Who were these people? And that Jun Mayan actually has such frightening medical skills. Bai Chen and Liu Beiyu are clearly beyond saving, but they've only taken a bottle of draft and been pricked with a few needles, and they've regained their vitality. Last night, he was also in the city and saw the 9 stars and moon phenomenon. At that time, he always felt that the brightest spot in that vision was right above Jin Wangfu. Could it be that the person who caused this phenomenon was Mayan? Chapter 424. He even asked his master for a medicine that could control a person. The more Qing Feng thought, the more he felt that his guess was correct. As long as he told this news to his master, he would definitely be very happy. Qing Feng held his breath and restrained his breathing. Profound qi poured into the soles of his feet, and he was about to leave silently. However, just as he took a step forward, suddenly, a gust of wind swept past his eyes. Then, a huge dull pain came from his chest. His entire body was instantly forced into the air, and he was sent flying dozens of meters away. With a loud bang, the window he had just jumped out of was smashed into pieces. Several of Qing Feng's ribs were also broken. In the end, he fell heavily to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Ying Mei slowly walked in from outside, looking down at Qing Feng who was moaning on the ground. He sneered, "Jun Shang and young miss didn't say you could leave, you actually had the guts to sneak away." The guests in the banquet hall who had wanted to sneak away were so scared that their faces turned ashen and they almost fainted. Fortunately, they had not yet taken action. Otherwise, they would be the ones lying on the ground vomiting blood. We were only invited by Jin Wang to attend the wedding, we really don't know anything. Ah. Sob, 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 spare us, spare us. I am the 7th prince of the state of Huangyao. Who are you? If you touch me, you won't have a good ending. Sounds of begging and threats could be heard from time to time. But Han Yi and Ying Mei turn a deaf ear to it, their expressions don't even change. Only when someone wanted to escape would Ying Mei's sword be unsheathed. It directly terrified these people to the point their souls almost flew out of their bodies. They were afraid that their lives would be lost in the hands of these fiends. Qing Feng spits out the bloody foam in his mouth, fiercely glaring at Ying Mei and Han Yi. Do you know who I am? I am a disciple of the Tiandao sect and my master is Jian Feng. If you dare to attack me, do you know the consequences? Tiandao sect. Sword edge. What the hell is that? Han Yi and Ying Mei's expressions still don't have the slightest change. Although they usually didn't show it, but for people who came from the Shushan continent, they knew that they were different. In the Yenwu continent, besides Miss June and the Little Master, everyone else is no different from ants. What Huangyao country's royal family? What Tiandao sect? What Huangyao country? However, when Little Bao heard Qing Feng's words, he suddenly stood up. You're from Tiandao sect. Qing Feng looked at Xiao Bao and let out a proud smile, that's right. I'm the disciple of the Heavenly Dao sect's pill-cultivating grandmaster, Jian Feng. Little Gongzi, do you know people from Tiandao sect? Han Yi asks, beaming. Xiao Bao slowly walked in front of Green Maple, then slowly shook his head. I don't know him. But I know that Mother hates the people of Tiandao sect, and she hates that person called Jian Feng even more. Although Mu Yan rarely mentions hatred in front of Xiao Bao. But Xiao Bao is most sensitive to Mu Yan's emotions. How could he not be aware of his mother's hatred towards the Heavenly Road sect, Gong Qinxue, and Jian Feng? Oh, since Miss hates them, then just kill them. Ying Mei said. Han Yi strokes his chin, since Miss hates him, wouldn't it be too easy for him to kill him directly? It's better to be like Jin Wang, and smash all his teeth and bones. Let's see if his bones are harder than Jin Wang's. Alright, let's do that. Ying Mei nodded. Chapter 425. Do you know what you're doing? I am a disciple of the Tiandao sect. If you offend the Tiandao sect, you will no longer have a foothold in the continent. You guys don't mess around. Han Yi reveals a sinister smile, the sword in his hand slowly tapping against his palm. Step by step, he walks towards Qing Feng. Even the pre-celestial Jin Wang doesn't have the strength to fight back when facing these two people. Not to mention Qing Feng. His face was contorted with extreme fear, and then he glanced at Xiao Bao. It suddenly became ferocious and vicious. Before Han Yi and Ying Mei could react, Qing Feng suddenly jumps up. He grabbed Xiao Bao. A cold light flashed in Qing Feng's hand, and a saber appeared in his hand. He held it horizontally in front of Xiao Bao's neck. Don't come any closer. If you dare, I'll kill this little bastard. As expected, Han Yi and Ning Mei stopped in their tracks. However, they did not reveal any nervousness on their faces. Instead, they looked at him condescendingly with eyes full of pity and disdain. Qing Feng's heart gave birth to a trace of panic for no reason. The hand holding the knife moved even tighter to Xiao Bao's neck. I'm not joking with you. If you dare to act blindly without thinking, I will immediately cut off this little bastard's neck. Who are you calling, little bastard? A clear and melodious female voice suddenly rang out. Qing Feng abruptly turns his head, only to see Mu Yan, who had just been treating Bai Yi Chen and Liu Beiyu's injuries, stand up in surprise. Her jet-black hair draped over her back, and her fiery red wedding dress set off her snow-white complexion. A pair of watery peach blossom eyes that shimmered like rippling waves seemed to be squinting yet not squinting, and it was amorous and graceful, making the young girl seem even more charming and peerless. However, when Qing Feng faced such a face, not only did he not lose his mind in the slightest, he instead felt a bone-chilling fear rise from his spine. He watched as the girl walked towards him step by step in her delicate red embroidered shoes. Beads of sweat dripped from Qing Feng's forehead, and the hand holding the saber was trembling. Don't come over. This little bastard is he your son? If he died, you would be very sad. So you better know your place, ask them to move aside and let me out. Mu Yan's eyes were filled with a cold killing intent, but the corner of his mouth hooked up into a cold and mocking smile. Is that so? Trying to kill my son? You can give it a try. Qing Feng sees that Mayan's steps haven't even paused for a single step, and he doesn't have a way out. His face finally revealed a ferocious expression. You forced me to do this. Even if I die, I'll make that little bastard pay with his life. He tightened his grip on the hilt of the sword. He chopped down viciously at little Bao's snow-white and fragile neck. The fear in his eyes had turned into a cruel madness. His mind is filled with the image of this fragile little life being decapitated in his hands, and Mayan's crazed expression of pain. However, when his hand chopped down fiercely, the expected scene of the sharp blade piercing into the flesh and blood splattering everywhere did not appear. Qing Feng's hand seemed to have been bound by something, rigidly pausing in midair, unable to advance or retreat in the slightest. What was restraining his hand was a chubby, fair, and tender little hand that could only hold on to half of his wrist. Qing Feng's entire body stiffened, and he slowly lowered his head. Then, he came face to face with little Bao's icy blue eyes and delicate facial features. A mocking sneer slowly appeared on his handsome little face. Then, her slender fingers exerted force. Chapter 426. His hand loosens, and the blade falls to the ground with a clang. He couldn't bear it any longer, and lets out a miserable howl like a pig being butchered. Han Yi clicks his tongue and sighs twice. This guy is simply worse than that bullshit Wang Ye. His wrist was just broken by the little master, and he's already howling like this. Qing Feng holds his broken wrist, and stares unwaveringly at Xiao Bao, like he's looking at a monster. This is clearly a 4-year-old child. But the internal force that was just transferred to his body is so powerful that he has no power to resist. How can there be such a child in this world? Xiao Bao stoops down to pick up the dagger on the ground. He twirls it in his hand, and coldly looks at Qing Feng. Want to kill me? With just you? As soon as the last "you" comes out, the blade flashes. Qing Feng immediately lets out another scream, and the other hand that was just grabbing Xiao Bao flies up into the sky, blood splattering everywhere. A few drops of blood even splatter on Xiao Bao's body, face, and even lips. Qing Feng couldn't bear it anymore, and falls to the ground. He clutches his bloody, broken hand, and keeps rolling around, letting out mournful howls. Mu Yan pulls Xiao Bao to her side. She gently wipes away the blood on his face, and takes out clean clothes from the space for him to change into. There's an obvious displeasure hanging on his usually careless face. Xiao Bao, you're only 4 years old. Let Nyangqin do this kind of thing like killing people. Moreover, even if you want to take revenge yourself, you shouldn't let blood stain your body, right? Xiao Bao obediently admits his mistake. Nyangqin, Xiao Bao will be more careful when killing bad guys in the future, and won't dirty my clothes. The shivering guests surrounding them. Is this a conversation that a mother and a 4-year-old child should have? Ha, ha ha, ha ha ha. Suddenly, Qing Feng's intermittent laughter comes from the ground. Everyone jumps in fright at this laughter, wondering if Qing Feng has gone crazy because of extreme fear and pain. Only Di Mingju slightly frowns, and quickly goes to Xiao Bao's side. He grabs Xiao Bao's little wrist, and probes it with his power. His expression suddenly changes. By now, Qing Feng has already sat up, clutching his broken arm. His face is full of madness and resentment. A red light flashes in his eyes, and Xiao Bao immediately frowns. Big beads of sweat roll down from his forehead. A low, muffled groan spills from his mouth. Xiao Bao. Mu Yan jumped in fright and immediately used her profound energy to check on Xiao Bao's condition. But he stopped by Di Mingju. You can't touch him right now, otherwise if the two forces clash, it will cause damage to Xiao Bao's meridians. What happened to Xiao Bao? Mu Yan could no longer maintain her usual calm and steady demeanor. Her voice was trembling. Xiao Bao couldn't hold on any longer and fell into her arms. He grabbed her sleeve and said in a weak voice, "Mother, it hurts." Mayan opens her mouth, wanting to speak, but the color of her lips fades little by little. She trembles, but not a single sound comes out. She abruptly stood up and thrust the long sword in her hand, ruthlessly nailing the laughing Qing Feng to the ground. "Tell me, what did you do?" Qing Feng screams again. He wants to resist, but Han Ye's sword light flashes, and the leg that Qing Feng kicks out is directly chopped off. "Ah ah ah. You can't kill me. If you kill me, that little bastard won't live either. The pain you've inflicted on me, that little bastard will also taste it, ha 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 ha." Chapter 427. She felt as if her heart was being clenched tightly, and the pain made it difficult for her to breathe. Ha ha ha. Qing Feng laughed even more wildly. "I gave Li Jinting a Wuqi seed, but he didn't know that his Wuqi seed was only a weaker version. The Wuqi seed in my hand is the strongest. Even a Xiantian realm cultivator wouldn't be able to resist my Wuqi seed." As Qing Feng spoke, he took out a medicinal pill and poured it into his mouth. The wounds on his hands and feet immediately stopped bleeding. As long as he was alive, there was hope for him to make a comeback. Qing Feng continued, "Just now, I had already consumed the Wuqi seed. When that little bastard chopped off my arm, cough cough cough. I purposely let the blood splatter on his face and body. As expected, there were a few drops that splashed into his mouth. Now, he is already my puppet. Under my will, if I want him to live, he will live. If I want him to die, he will die. If you dare to kill me, I will definitely make him accompany me in death, ha 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 ha." Qing Feng's laughter is incomparably insolent and complacent, but Mayan, Han Yi, and Ing Mei are indeed in a dilemma. If what this person said was true, then Xiaobao's life could be said to be in his hands. Mu Yan hated being threatened the most, but the one threatening him now was Xiaobao's life. No matter how much she hated him, she could only endure it. To her, Xiaobao was everything. "What do you want?" Hearing Mu Yan's soft voice, even if Qing Feng had lost an arm and a leg, and was in unbearable pain, he still couldn't help but look up to the sky and laugh. You want your little bastard to live? Hee hee, then come over here and help me reattach my hands and feet. Aren't you known as the Enchantress of Medicine, with unparalleled medical skills? It shouldn't be a problem to reattach the broken limbs, right? If you can't do it, then don't blame me for chopping off your little bastard's arms and legs. There isn't the slightest bit of expression on Mayan's face. The depths of her eyes are as cold as ice that has been frozen for 10,000 years. When Qing Feng saw her face, he couldn't help but shiver. Instinctive fear made his body tremble. But when he remembered that Xiaobao's life was in his hands, he became arrogant again. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and help me fix my hand. Mu Yan takes a deep breath and is about to go over. Suddenly, a weak voice comes from behind Nyangqin. Mu Yan abruptly turns her head around, and sees that Xiaobao has already climbed up from Di Mingju's arms. His little face was still deathly pale, but the pained expression on his face had disappeared, and his body was no longer trembling. But Di Mingju's expression has already returned to normal. He also stands up and walks to Mayan's side. He hugs her cold and trembling body. Mu Yan wants to go over and hug Xiaobao, but Di Mingju holds her back. Don't worry, with Ben Jun here, would I let anything happen to our son? The man's voice was low, deep, and cold, but strangely comforting. Mayan looks up at him. That pair of peach blossom eyes that were always languid and seductive now rippled with traces of helplessness and panic, causing the usually domineering and careless young girl to be tainted with vulnerability and pitifulness. Di Mingju tightens his grip on her, his voice becoming softer. Don't be afraid, believe me, I won't let Xiaobao get hurt. Strangely, Mayan's heart calms down bit by bit. On Qing Feng's side, when he saw little treasure stand up, he was first taken aback. Chapter 428. Now, come over here. Hearing Qing Feng's words, Xiaobao immediately walks towards him step by step. Little master, you can't go over. Han Yi reaches out his hand, wanting to pull. But Xiaobao nimbly dodges him. Ha ha ha, do you see? He's now my puppet, my slave. I'm his master, I can control his life and death, and I can trample him underfoot at will. As long as I die, he'll only die more miserably than me. You bastard! You actually dare to lay your hands on our little master. Han Yi couldn't bear it any longer, and suddenly attacks Qing Feng. Qing Feng jumps in fright, shrieking loudly, if you kill me, this little bastard will also die with me. Han Ye's movements abruptly stop in midair. His man-eating gaze is firmly fixed on Qing Feng's face. Qing Feng's face, distorted from fright, once again reveals a ruthless and sinister smile. He turns to look at Xiaobao. You, go and chop off his limbs for me. Qing Feng's hand points at Han Yi, his eyes brimming with pride and resentment. Han Yi really wants to dismember the person before him into 1,000 pieces. He actually dares to take advantage of the 4-year-old little master. He nervously looks at Xiaobao. If the little master really attacks him, Han Yi absolutely won't resist, even if he'll be seriously injured and forced to return to the Xuxian continent. Xiaobao's head is slightly lowered. Because of the pain and drenched in cold sweat, his neatly combed hair has become somewhat messy. Soft jet black hair hangs down, covering half of his handsome little face. His long eyelashes are like small fans, gently trembling and hanging low, covering the light in his eyes. Only when he hears Qing Feng's order does he slowly lift his head. His big ice-blue eyes are clear, without a trace of confusion or absent-mindedness. But they're as cold as a bottomless cold pond, the bottom of an abyss. Han Yi inexplicably shivers. Then he hears Xiaobao say to Qing Feng, chop off his limbs. It's really a good idea. Then do it now. Qing Feng stares blankly, then he suddenly frowns and roars. I'm telling you to chop off your subordinate's limbs. What are you still staring blankly for? I'm your master, don't tell me you want to disobey your master's orders. As he shouts, he operates his internal force, stimulating the Wuqi seed within his body. His qi started to heat up. That was a sign that the Wuqi seed was reacting and connecting. Qing Feng immediately revealed a hideous smile. But then, he heard the child's crisp but cold voice. Chop off your remaining foot too. The voice wasn't loud, but it sounded like a clap of thunder. After that, Green Maple felt his body going out of control. The hand with the broken bone picked up a sword with difficulty and slashed it. Qing Feng's remaining leg broke at the base and flew out. His eyes were wide with terror, and he couldn't even feel the pain. He looked at the expressionless Xiao Bao and the sword in his hand, and the only thing left on his face was shock and despair. Why? Why are you not controlled by the Wuqi seed? Not only was it not controlled by the Wuqi seed, it could even control the mother goo of the Wuqi seed. How was this possible? He wanted to reverse the order of master and servant of the Wuqi seed. Unless this boy's physique, and aptitude were countless times better than his. Chapter 429. Even if he could really control it, he would inevitably suffer a huge backlash. This is the law of heaven and earth, the survival of the fittest, the most basic difference in levels. Before Qing Feng faints, the conversation between his master and Princess Qinxue suddenly flashes through his mind. What is an immortal fetus? An immortal fetus is a life form that is born to be above all things. They are destined to rule mortals from birth, to rule the world, so they receive the greatest gift of heaven and earth and nature. After eating an immortal fetus, although you still can't be above other humans, you can have the gift of heaven and earth to the immortal fetus. Qing Feng fiercely widens his eyes, desperately trying to see Jun Mayan and Xiao Bao's faces, but his consciousness is slowly drifting away. 4 years old, 4 years ago, could it be that this child is the immortal fetus that his master wanted to refine for Princess Qinxue? He is a mere mortal, wanting to control an immortal body through the Wuqi seed is simply a fantasy. How could he not suffer a backlash? If he had known earlier that it was an immortal body, if he had known earlier that attending this wedding banquet would fall into such a state, he would definitely. Qing Feng couldn't hold on any longer, completely fainting. Xiao Bao. Hearing Mayan's call, Xiao Bao, who originally wanted to deal with Qing Feng, immediately turns around and pounces into Mayan's arms. Mayan tightly hugs his small body, her hands clenching so tightly that Xiao Bao almost can't breathe. Xiao Bao, are you all right? Xiao Bao feels that his body is hurting from being hugged, but he doesn't make a sound. Instead, he says in a soft voice, Nyangqin, Xiao Bao is fine, don't worry. Mayan takes a deep breath, controlling her emotions, and slowly loosens her hands. The worry, panic, and fear on her face fade in an instant, turning into cold seriousness. Jun Machin, don't put yourself in danger again in the future, do you hear me? If you let yourself fall into danger again, I'll spank you. Xiao Bao obediently lowers his head, looking particularly docile and pitiful. The little hand reaches out and grabs his mother's finger, quietly squeezing it. Nyangqin, Xiao Bao knows his mistake, don't be angry. Mayan's heart is filled with worry and anger, but in the end, it melts into a soft ball. She takes him into her arms and kisses his cheek. Xiao Bao, you're Nyangqin's life. If something happens to you, Nyangqin won't be able to live anymore. Xiao Bao's eyes redden all of a sudden. He tightly holds Mayan's neck, burying his face in her hair, and whispers, Xiao Bao knows. After venting her emotions, Mu Yan stands up and looks at everyone in the banquet hall. Being stared at by the young girl's bright and beautiful eyes, everyone present began to cry pitifully and plead. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Boo-hoo-hoo, Enchantress, spare me. I, shao shao shao, shao shao bao shao, shao shao bao, shao, she shao. She, of, and is. Of. Shao, shao shao, 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 shao shao bao, shao is. The shao, and is, a, the shao of and is, are of is, are. Are, and earth. Holy and flawless. It was as if the Empyrean fairy from the 9 heavens had unintentionally fallen into the mortal world. Chapter 430. Di Mingju's face immediately turns black. His figure flashes and he appears behind Mayan in the blink of an eye. His clothes have already been taken off at some point, firmly wrapping around Mayan's delicate body. The man's voice was full of jealousy. Do you believe that I will dig out everyone's eyeballs here? Han Yi and Ing may shiver. Jun Shang, when you say everyone, it shouldn't include us, right? Mu Yen stares blankly at first, then she can't help but burst out laughing. She doesn't refuse Di Mingju, but instead wraps herself tightly in his clothes. She winks at him. I just hate Li Jinting's clothes. He hated the wedding dress that Li Jinting had put on her. However, she tightens the clothes that Di Mingju draped over her. This kind of closeness, this kind of attitude, had already expressed the meaning very clearly. Di Mingju's expression suddenly becomes somewhat stiff. After a long while, he lowly shouts, even so, you're not allowed to take off your clothes in front of other men in the future. His roar was a little loud, and his tone was very strict. But Jun Shangdaran, if your ears weren't so red, I'm afraid it would be more convincing. If you want to live, you can. Mayan raises her hand, and dozens of bottles appear on the table. The draft in these bottles is called 3 Days of Lost Soul. The person who takes it will completely forget the memories of the last 3 days. You know too many things that you shouldn't know. You should know very well that I won't let you leave alive with your secrets. Hearing Mu Yan's words, everyone looks at each other. All of them looked hesitant. Who knows if the thing in your bottle is poison? Ha, it's poison, what can you do? Mu Yan revealed a contemptuous expression. Do you still have a choice? Everyone's expressions became incomparably ugly. They were furious in their hearts, but they didn't even have the slightest bit of courage to resist. I will drink. The Prince of Huangyao country is the first to stand up and walk over to Mayan. Without hesitation, he takes the porcelain bottle and drinks the draft. Mu Yan smiles faintly and makes a gesture for him to leave. The Prince of Huangyao country was originally filled with grief and resentment, but when he saw the charming smile of the young girl, his heart skipped a beat and his face turned red. He ran out as if he was escaping. 7th Prince, wait for me, I want to drink too. The 7th Prince's subordinate drinks the draft, and also rushes out. He catches up with the 7th Prince all the way. After leaving Jin Wangfu for quite a distance, he says with lingering fear, Your Highness, I didn't expect that behind Jun Mayan, there's actually. Suddenly, his voice came to an abrupt stop and a blank expression appeared on his face. Shouldn't I be in the palace reporting the situation to His Majesty? Why are you here? The 7th Prince also revealed a surprised expression. Why am I here? This kind of situation happens to everyone who leaves Jin Wangfu. There are also a few people from Jin Wangfu who want to fish in troubled waters, pretending to be guests to escape. However, they are seen through by Han Yi and Ing Mei. Han Yi couldn't help but sigh, Miss Jun's alchemy skills are really too amazing. It's one thing to be able to save a dying person, but you can actually make them forget their memories for 3 days. Even in the Shushan continent, very few people can refine this kind of medicine, right? Chapter 431. If that Bai Chen and Liu Beiyu hadn't met Miss June, they would have already become corpses. Only Miss can restore them to their original state. Han Yi blinks in surprise, looking at Ing Mei. Aren't you a little too fond of Miss June, too adoring? His words were sour, with a trace of anger and unwillingness. Ing Mei had always been a man of few words, but in order to praise Mayan, he actually said a long string. When he talks about Mayan, his eyes shine even brighter, as if he's infatuated to the bone. Even towards June Shang, Little Shadow has never worshipped and loved so much. Could it be that Little Shadow is still thinking about Miss June? Thinking of this, Han Ye's heart becomes even more sour. He also doesn't know what's going on with him. When he first found out that Little Shadow liked Miss June, he was only worried that Little Shadow would be punished by June Shang. But ever since she had seen Little Shadow in women's clothing, what haunted his dreams was actually Little Shadow's cross-dressing figure that day. He had been spending time with Little Shadow these past few days, and he had tried his best to restrain himself so that he wouldn't show any abnormalities. After all, he clearly knew that Ing Mei was a man, and the person he liked was not a man. He was definitely not gay. He was just hopelessly infatuated with Little Shadow in female clothing. If Little Shadow were to find out about such filthy thoughts, not only would he be skinned alive by Little Shadow, he wouldn't even be able to be brothers with Little Shadow. Therefore, Han Yi has been controlling himself very well these days. However, he didn't expect that today, when he heard Little Shadow's undisguised love for Mu Yan, the bit of jealousy in his heart couldn't be hidden anymore. Don't tell me you still like Miss June. I'm telling you, stop dreaming. June Shang's affection for Miss June. Anyone with eyes can see it. If your feelings are discovered by June Shang, I'm afraid you won't even know how you died. I'm telling you, you'd better take back your feelings and stay away from Miss June in the future. Ing Mei looks at Han Yi like she's looking at an idiot, psycho. After saying that, he turned around and left. Hey. Wait a minute. Little Shadow, don't go. Listen to me, jealous men are very scary. You better stay away from Miss June, do you hear me? In the future, I'll stay close to you and guard you, lest you can't control your feelings and be discovered by June Shang. Han Yi, let go of me. No. I told you, I want to stay close to you and guard you. Han. Night. Roar. It hurts, Little Shadow, how could you kick me there? What if I'm crippled? Will you take responsibility? In the evening, Yan Haotian, Feng Haitang, and Ru Yan bring the people from the ink camp to Jin Wangfu. Mayan had them sweep through the entire Jin Wangfu. The evil that should be eliminated was eliminated, and the treasures that should be plundered were plundered. It can be said that Mayan has been plagued with misfortunes these past few days. In particular, Liu Beiyu and Bai Chen's serious injuries made her extremely remorseful. He secretly swore to himself that he would be more careful in his actions in the future, and that he would not implicate his friends. Of course, there were also things that made her happy. For example, Jin Wangfu's level of wealth is beyond his imagination. Chapter 432. Old Tao is also very happy. He picks up an ingot and gnaws on it. This Jin Wangfu storehouse has so many treasures, weapons, armors, and treasures. They must have secretly prepared for a long time, perhaps wanting to rebel. I didn't expect that it would all benefit us now. Mu Yan can't help but reveal a smile. Although Jin Wangye and Gong Qinshue aren't of the same mind, he's also a person of the Heavenly Road sect, and is Gong Qinshue and Jian Feng's senior brother. In this life and the previous life, he might have done a lot of outrageous things. Now, she can take the enemy's supplies to enrich her own strength, and finally deal with Gong Qinxue. Of course, she was in a good mood. In addition to the supplies, there are still a lot of people in Jin Wangfu. Apart from the dead soldiers who have already been completely slaughtered, there are also ordinary guards and maids in the Wangfu. There are also those pitiful concubines who were tricked or robbed by Jin Wang, and then casually given to his subordinates. These people's hands aren't stained with blood, and they also don't know what Jin Wangya has done. Mu Yan gives them the opportunity to choose. Either drink the 3 days of lost souls and leave, or join the Ink camp and the Tianji unit. Of course, these people can only be regarded as the preparatory camp. In the end, whether or not they can become a member of the Ink camp and the Tianji unit still depends on their own performance and character. Ru Yan and Yan Haotian are very satisfied with the addition of these people. They now know that the person Mu Yan wants to deal with is Jingqing country's Princess Gong Qinxue. It's unimaginable how many troops and forces a country's princess holds in her hands. Not to mention that Gong Qinxue is also a distinguished disciple of the Heavenly Road sect. She has a powerful great-grandmaster like Jian Feng at her beck and call. Since taking control of the Tianji unit, Ru Yan has sent people to investigate Gong Qinxue's depths. But the more they investigate, the more apprehensive they become. That's because Gong Qinxue's schemes and ruthlessness are far deeper than they imagine. She's clearly just a young woman in her 20s, but the forces she holds in her hands are enormous. And the lives and blood stained on the hands of these forces makes people's hair stand on end. Ru Yan reports to Mu Yan about the gathering of people and supplies. There are a lot of people in Jin Wangfu who are willing to join the Tianji unit, especially Jin Wang's former concubines. Almost none of them are willing to drink the 3 days of lost souls and leave. Furthermore, I've also seen that these people are very talented. I believe that the secret division will be able to obtain more and more information in the future. Mu Yan lightly nodded when she heard this, but she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Jin Wang is really too deranged. It was one thing for them to bully men and take women, but after he no longer doted on these women, he actually gave them to his subordinates to ravage, completely disregarding their past friendship and the lives of these women. After experiencing such a hellish life, how could these women return to a normal life? Ru Yan continued, the first batch of spies trained by the secret division can already begin their missions. Jingya and I will personally escort them to Jingqing country's imperial capital and Heavenly Road sect star Luo City. Feng Haitang also speaks on behalf of Yan Haotian. The Ink camp will allocate some people to establish branches in Huangyao and Jingqing. Mu Yan's brows jump, things can't be rushed. The capital of Jingqing country can be said to be within Gong Qinxue's sphere of influence. As for Huangyao nation's Tai city, the Tiandao sect was able to cover the sky with one hand. Chapter 433. Ru Yan raises her head, her beautiful face full of determination. We know that Miss really wants to make a move against Jingqing and Gong Qinxue, but she's afraid that we'll be in danger, so she's been biding her time. But we are following the young Miss to serve the young Mississippi. We are selling our lives for the young Mississippi. How can we let the young Miss accommodate us? Mu Yan frowns. This is a personal grudge between me, Gong Qinxue, and the Heavenly Road sect. You don't need to. Miss business is our business. Ru Yan resolutely and decisively interrupts Mayan's words. Since Gong Qinxue is Miss enemy, then she is also our enemy. Yan Haotian also knelt down, silent but determined. Feng Haitang said softly, Miss, you have already given us enough. The draft that defies the natural order, the treatment of the sound of the zither, the improvement that the people of the world yearn for even in their dreams. But it's not just for use, it's for their safety at all times. It's time for us to repay you. The human heart is made of flesh. If the people of the Ink camp and the Tianji unit had initially pledged allegiance to Mayan and Xiaobao only for the sake of survival or to seek benefits. But slowly, their hearts were completely skewed. He longed to stay by Miss and Little Master's side for the rest of his life. He longed for this warm big family to never fall apart. Okay. After a long time, Mayan slowly replies, however, you guys should wait a few more days, wait for me to try refining a batch of elixirs. Everyone who goes out on a mission must bring it along with them. Yes, miss. Ru Yan and the others instantly beamed with joy. Seeing Mayan get up to leave, he promptly bows to send her off. However, Mu Yan's figure has just disappeared outside the door. Old Tao suddenly reacted, wait. Did the young miss just say, medicinal pills? Not drafts. Everyone widened their eyes in shock. Pill. Could it be that miss can already refine pills? After meeting Ru Yan, Yan Haotian and the others, Mu Yan originally wanted to go back to accompany Xiaobao. However, his emotions were disturbed by this group of people. So she turns around and goes to Lu Beiyu and Bai Chen's room. Both of their lives had been saved. But the after effects were very serious. Especially Bai Chen. Mayan can save his shattered chi si through drafts and acupuncture. However, no matter how much Mu Yan thought of a way to restore his crushed throat, she still couldn't restore it to its original state. Bai Chen's voice was originally as gentle as jade, neither deep nor shrill. It was like a cool breeze, making people who heard it feel very comfortable. But now, it was coarse like an old man on the verge of death. It was incomparably unpleasant to the ears. When Mu Yan enters the room, Bai Chen is gently stroking the blood veins on Lin Xidong's jade bracelet. Only when he heard the commotion did he raise his head, revealing a calm and gentle smile. Mu Yan felt a bit sour in her heart. I'm sorry, I've implicated you this time. Bai Chen shook his head and smiled. After hesitating for a moment, he finally opened his mouth and said, actually, I'm the one who implicated you. If she wasn't concerned about his plans, Mayan would have already made a move against Jin Wangfu. It was impossible for him to put himself in danger. Therefore, if one really wanted to talk about being implicated, then Mu Yan was the one who was implicated by him. His tone was very calm, but Mu Yan could hear the persistence and determination in his words. So, you still plan to take revenge yourself? Bai Chen nodded without hesitation. Chapter 434. A rough voice jumps out from his lips and teeth, making Mayan unable to not be moved by this man's infatuation and determination. Moreover, she knows that this is Bai Chen's voice and determination. If he doesn't take revenge, he certainly won't be in danger. However, losing his hatred is tantamount to losing his goal, losing the meaning of living. If you've really made up your mind, then I have a way to let you sneak into the Tiandao sect. Bai Chen's gloomy eyes suddenly brighten. What way? You should still remember that Qing Feng, right? He's Jian Fang's apprentice. Bai Chen nods. As long as Qing Feng takes you back to the Tiandao sect, and tells Jian Feng and Gong Chenxue that you saved him, do you think Jian Feng and Gong Chenxue will accept you? Bai Chen opens his mouth, but how could Qing Feng? Mayan can't help but curl up the corners of her lips, revealing a sly smile. Qing Feng wanted to control Xiaobao through the Wuqi seed and turn him into his puppet, but the result was that he became Xiaobao's puppet instead. As time goes by, he will thoroughly submit to Xiaobao and listen to Xiaobao's orders. Even Jian Feng wouldn't be able to see any abnormalities. Bai Chen's eyes widen, and he doesn't come back to his senses for a long time. After a long time, he stands up and slowly kneels down towards Mayan. Bai Chen can't repay your great kindness in this life, even if I have to work like an ox or a horse in the next life. I never believe in the next life. Mayan interrupts his rough and laborious speech. Even if she's reborn, she still believes in grasping the present, rather than the illusory past life. If you really feel that you can't repay me, then try to survive after your revenge. Mayan says word by word, I already have the Ink Camp and the Tianji unit, two major forces, in my hands, but this is not all. Nowadays, the Ink Camp and the Tianji unit are independent of each other and can't be connected. I still need the Taishu Camp to become the link between the Ink Camp and the Tianji unit, but I still haven't found a person who can manage the Taishu Camp. Bai Chen, I hope that you can kill your enemy, and then survive to become the leader of the Taishu Camp. Bai Chen, I hope that you can kill your enemy with your own hands, and then survive to become the leader of the Taishu Camp. For a long time, he did not get up, nor did he move. The girl's clear yet powerful voice seemed to reverberate in his ears again and again. Bai Chen abruptly raised his head, only to discover that Mu Yan's figure had already disappeared from the room. He absent-mindedly recalls Mayan's words. I hope you can kill your enemy, survive, and become the leader of the Grand Void Battalion. His eyes slowly lit up with resplendent light. However, he didn't know that Mu Yan, who had finished saying these words, wasn't going to leave by himself. But before Bai Chen could respond, someone grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. In the blink of an eye, he was thrown onto the bed. Di Mingju. Mayan angrily says, do you think I'm a sack? Every time, he would either pick it up, carry it, or throw it away. She struggled to get up, but the man pulled her over and pressed her head down on his lap. Mu Yan suddenly had a bad premonition. Hey, what are you doing? All the dark force in his body surged wildly as he struggled to jump down. However, the man's shackles were impregnable, making her unable to move at all. Chapter 435. A heavy slap landed on her buttocks. Smack. The sound is very loud, and there's a burning pain on her butt. But this isn't the point. Mayan is simply going crazy. Di Mingju, you bastard, what are you doing? The man's cold voice comes, didn't you say so? If you're disobedient, you'll be spanked. Mayan, tell me, how disobedient are you this time? Saying that, the second slap falls on her pert butt. Ah! Di Mingju, this damned bastard. Mayan has lived for so long, but she has never felt so humiliated that she wanted to kill someone. When the third slap falls, Mayan's figure flashes, and she suddenly disappears. She doesn't care whether the secret of the Tian Mo Chin space will be discovered by Di Mingju. Right now, she just wants to strip off all of this man's clothes, and whip him until he kneels down and begs for mercy. Seeing that the girl on his knees has disappeared, Di Mingju slightly narrows his eyes. There's a dangerous glint in his eyes. Mayan's aura is perfectly concealed, and even Di Mingju can't feel it. This doesn't just mean that Mayan's strength has increased. It also means that the Tian Mo Chin space has become more stable because of the restoration this time. However, no matter how stable it is, this little woman absolutely can't escape from the palm of his hand. Di Mingju slightly closes his eyes, and the power within his body surges. He suddenly reaches out and grabs something in the air. The palm that was supposed to be empty immediately appears with the girl's slender snow-white wrist. His hand exerts force, and with a gentle tug, the girl's body is pulled into his embrace. Mayan is pulled out from the space, but she doesn't panic much. She doesn't know when, but a silver needle appears in her hand. Taking advantage of the moment when Di Mingju is restraining her, she pricks the acupuncture point on the side of his waist. The tip of the needle is about to pierce through the man's clothes, and into his skin. Di Mingju suddenly hugs her tightly, and buries his face in her neck. Yen Yen, do you know how scared I was when I found out that you were gone? Mayan's movements suddenly freeze. The man's deep voice is slightly hoarse and trembling. I was afraid that you would leave me, afraid that you would be snatched away, afraid that even though I'm clearly by your side, I still can't protect you. Mayan's hand holding the needle can't help but tremble a little. This bastard of a man. After using the hard way, he actually started to use the soft way. Did he think that by saying a few mushy words of love, her heart would soften and she would forget the hatred he had for spanking her just now? The fingers holding the needle trembled. Damn it, her heart had actually softened. Deming-ju straightens up, lowering his head to look at him. His eyes, which were usually cold and aloof, had traces of frailty and fear that were hard to detect. It's this trace of frailty and fear that makes Mayan's heart tighten. The silver needle in his hand quietly returns to the space. She coughed lightly and said, "This time, I was too rash." Although her advancement and coma were accidents, it was still because she was overconfident and careless. "I apologize to you and Xiao Bao. I will be more careful in the future and will not put myself in danger." Whether it was in the past, present, or future, she wanted revenge, but she would never neglect her own life. In the past, it was because she had to take care of her Xiao Bao. Now and in the future, there was one more person who cared about her, so she couldn't bear to let go. This person is called Deming-ju. Chapter 436. Deming-ju lowers his head and gently kisses her lips. There's an indescribable gentleness, as well as the cautiousness of regaining something that was lost. For the first time, Mayan doesn't resist. Instead, she gently grabs the man's sleeve and responds to his kiss. This kiss isn't violent or aggressive, but lingering as if it wants to melt the two of them into one. After a long time, Deming-ju releases Mayan's swollen lips. His voice is husky as he slowly says, "In the future, you're not allowed to put yourself in danger. You're not allowed to treat other men differently. And you're not allowed to get too close to other men. If Ben-jun finds out that you're taking off other men's clothes, or making a move on them, Ben-jun will definitely punish you. As for the method of punishment, it's naturally, if you're not obedient, you'll get a spanking." Jun Shangdaran moves the hand that had just spanked Mayan's butt. His ears are slightly red, and he's somewhat unsatisfied. It feels unexpectedly good. He really wants to try spanking it again. Bang! Jun Shangdaran, who's thinking about lasciviousness, is directly kicked down from the bed. Mayan sneers, "Deming-ju, within 3 days, you'd better not appear in front of me, otherwise, hee." When Han Yi passes by Mayan's room, he sees his Jun Shang being pushed out by a strong force. Even though Jun Shang's appearance is still unparalleled in the world, even though Jun Shang's temperament is still as cold and unapproachable as a cold pine tree on a high mountain. But Han Yi still feels that he sees Jun Shang in a difficult situation. "Jun Shang, this subordinate has come to deliver lunch. Won't you have lunch with Miss Jun?" Deming-ju coldly looks over, and slowly says in a cold and calm tone, "After returning, go to the purgatory pool and stay there for a month." Watching Deming-ju leave with a cold face, Han Yi is simply in a mess. Who the hell did he provoke? Even though the people who appeared in Jin Wangfu have their memories erased and their mouths silenced. But in the end, they can't stay here for too long. On the 3rd day, after they've taken stock of all the goods and people in Jin Wangfu, Mayan takes the ink camp and Deming-ju back to Tianyuan City. In the tranquil Huangyao country's imperial capital, a raging fire suddenly rises to the sky. By the time everyone comes to their senses and gets water to extinguish the fire, they discover that the formerly flourishing Jin Wangfu has already been burnt to a crisp. When Jian Feng saw his disciple Qing Feng's soul lamp flickering, he knew that he was in danger, so he rushed over with Gong Qinxue. But she only sees that Jin Wangfu has turned into scorched earth and ruins. Huang Yao was asked, but no one knew why Jin Wangfu caught fire. Even in the entire Huangyao country, there are unexpectedly only a few people who know that Jin Wang was going to get married, let alone who the bride of Jin Wang's big wedding is. Just as Jian Feng and Gong Qinshue were bewildered, Qing Feng rushed out with Bai Chen's support. Both of them were covered in blood and wounds. Master! Master! Qing Feng! Jian Feng hurriedly got people to catch them, and even fed them pills. What the hell happened? It's Jin Wang's new Wang Fei. She's the one who caused the 9-star pearl anomaly that day. What? Jian Feng and Gong Qinshue's expressions changed. Gong Qinshue's eyes reveal a greedy glint. You're saying that the person who caused the vision of the 9-star alignment is in Jin Wangfu. Chapter 437. But, before the wedding was held, that woman suddenly went on a killing spree. She killed everyone in Jin Wang and the Wangfu. If this young hero Bai hadn't saved this disciple would already be dead by now. Gong Qinshue and Jian Feng look at Bai Chen, their expressions slightly changing. Dustless swordsman, Bai Chen. The #1 young talent of Yinwu continent, who was once on par with Gong Qinshue, now looks indescribably distressed. The internal force in his body has almost disappeared. He was obviously seriously injured. Qing Feng immediately says, Yi Chen was seriously injured in order to save me. His qi si was almost destroyed, and his throat was almost broken. Now, he can't even speak normally. Master, you must help Yi Chen. He's probably the only person left who has seen that woman. Gong Qinshue's pupils suddenly contract. You really saw that immortal physique, the true face of the person who caused the vision of heaven and earth? Bai Chen nods, opening his mouth and spitting out 2 words with difficulty, I have. His body is on the verge of collapse, as if he will fall at any time. The light in Gong Qinshue's eyes becomes brighter and brighter, with strong excitement and greed. But the words that come out of her mouth are filled with pity and anxiety. Senior brother. Young hero Bai saved Qing Feng, so he is the benefactor of our Tiandao sect. Senior brother, must you save him? Jian Feng smiles faintly, looking at Gong Qinshue with eyes full of adoration. Rest assured, junior sister. Although his injury is very serious, senior brother will definitely not let him die. Young hero Bai, please come back to Tiandao sect with us. Only there are enough medicinal herbs that can cure your injury. Bai Chen shows a grateful expression and nods. Then he lowers his eyes, slowly curling up the corner of his lips. His left hand is hidden in his sleeve, and his palm is holding a jade bracelet with bloodshot lines. A silent murmur comes out of his mouth. Sidong, don't worry, I will soon be able to avenge you. After killing that woman, I will go down to accompany. The will to die has just risen in his heart, when he seems to remember Mayan's words, come back alive, and be the leader of my Taishu battalion. The deathly stillness and madness in his eyes slowly recede, eventually turning into a resolute and regretless calm. In any case, he will make Gong Qinshue pay with blood. The carriage slowly returned to Tianyuan City from Huangyao country. Because Jin Wangfu is using a godly flying horse when they go, the speed is very fast. On the way back, Mu Yan felt that she was no longer in a hurry. She leisurely led the carriage forward with Xiao Bao. When they were hungry or thirsty, they would stop to rest. What makes Mayan flabbergasted is that before she left, their noses weren't noses and their eyes weren't eyes. Now, they get along with each other unexpectedly harmoniously. Especially Xiao Bao, who would only stick to her in the past. No one could change Xiao Bao's mind. But now, with just one word from Di Mingju, even though Xiao Bao was reluctant, he would still obediently listen. Even Ru Yen and Feng Haitang began to doubt it. Miss, could it be that Xiao Bao is Jun Shang's son? The picture of this family of three together was too harmonious. Jun Mayan looks at the two figures in front of her, one big and one small, holding hands. Her expression becomes absent-minded for a moment. Then, he smiled bitterly and shook his head. Don't think too much. How is that possible? Of course, she had also thought of this possibility. Xiao Bao has never been close to other people, but he is willing to get close to Di Mingju. Chapter 438. Because of this suspicion, she even beat around the bush and asked Di Mingju if he had come to the Yanwu continent 5 years ago. But the answer she got was the last time Di Mingju came to the Yanwu continent was already decades ago. At that time, Mayan hadn't even been born yet. What's more, the days and nights in the darkness, that man didn't leave her with any good memories. Even if she's no longer the weak, crying little girl from before. Thinking of that scorching, chaotic darkness, she would still feel an instinctive fear. Mayan shakes her head, throwing these nonsensical thoughts to the back of her mind. How could Di Mingju be that man? She must have been confused by Ru Yan, that's why she would have this kind of thought. Miss, she hears Ru Yan's voice, His Highness has woken up. Mayan's eyes brighten, and she can't help but sigh in relief. Liu Beiyu has finally woken up. Both Bai Chen and Liu Beiyu's injuries are very serious. Although drafts have saved their lives, the injuries to the veins and qi si can't be treated with medicine. Thus, Mayan uses the Shen musician skill, Realm of Stars, that she has just unsealed. After the Tian Mo Qin is completely repaired, her spiritual root is reshaped, the Shen musician skill has finally been upgraded to level 2. Apart from some group attack and support skills, such as Echo Recovery and Sound Blade, which have expanded their range. There are also several new skills, and Realm of Stars is one of them. When she plays the Realm of Stars with the Tian Mo Qin, the 9 stars will appear around her and the patient, slowly forming an illusion. In the illusion, the patient will experience a confused dream. As for whether it's a sweet dream or a nightmare, it completely depends on the song that Mayan plays. A sweet dream can make people indulge in the illusion, unconsciously healing their injuries. Nightmares can make people wish they were dead, and the injuries received in the illusion will be reflected on the body. But the Realm of Stars has a very big drawback. That is, if the willpower of the person immersed in the illusion isn't strong enough, it's very likely that they will be immersed in it forever, unwilling to wake up. Bai Chen's vengeful heart is resolute, so he quickly wakes up. Of course, his injuries are also mostly healed. Mu Yan originally wanted to use the Realm of Stars again, but he refused. Bai Chen believed that he would not be suspected if he approached Gong Qinshua and Jian Feng with such a heavily wounded and near-death appearance. Meanwhile, after Liu Beiyu entered into the heavenly body tier, his will did not awaken. Although the injuries on his body were almost completely healed, and even his body was becoming stronger as if he had been reborn. But Mu Yan is still worried that he will never wake up. Now, it was finally proven that his worries were unnecessary. Liu Beiyu slowly opens his eyes, still in a trance. The memories in his mind gradually returned. Some were in dreams, and some were in reality. In the end, the chaotic dream slowly faded and became a cruel reality. Master! Bastards, you're not allowed to touch my master. Liu Beiyu abruptly sits up from the bed, his hands flailing. However, what he saw was not the wedding that made him depressed and crazy, but a clean and tidy room. What was going on? Isn't he stopping that bastard Jin Wang at the wedding? Why did he suddenly appear here? Wait, wasn't his hand crippled? Weren't all the meridians in his body damaged? Chapter 439. Liu Beiyu shakes his hand, his face full of shock. Truly, completely recovered. Broken bones, broken tendons, even a deity could not cure them. Could it be that he was already dead? Was it because he was in a ghostly state that he could not feel any pain? Liu Beiyu is in a trance when he sees the door being pushed open. A small figure walks in with his hands behind his back. Seeing that he was unscathed, her big eyes flashed. Junior brother. Liu Beiyu cries out in alarm, then he reveals an incredulous look of pain. Little senior brother, are you also dead? It was that Jin Wang who killed you, wasn't it? Ah, that damned bastard, even if I become a ghost, I won't let him off. As soon as he finished shouting, he saw Xiao Bao staring at him as if he was an idiot. Although Liu Beiyu has long been accustomed to his little senior brother's contempt for him. However, he felt that the disdain this time was especially intense and glaring. Xiao Bao expressionlessly walked to his side and said in a crisp voice, "You're not dead." Not dead. Liu Beiyu stares blankly, that's not right. If I'm not dead, how can I be in such a perfect state? Little senior brother, don't lie to me. I must be dead and have become a ghost. That's why I don't feel the pain of my broken bones. Idiot. Xiao Bao couldn't help but roll his eyes. At this moment, another figure walked in from outside the door. Liu Beiyu sees the beautiful girl coming in, and the rims of his eyes immediately redden. Ah, that damn Jin Wang, he even killed you, master. I must drag him down to the 18th level of hell. Piak. A slap landed on his head. Then, a voice that seemed to be laughing yet not laughing reached his ears. I think, I shouldn't treat your injuries first, but your brain first. Otherwise, in the future, if word gets out that my, Jun Mayan's, apprentice died from stupidity, how would I still have the face to establish myself? Liu Beiyu is stunned by this slap. He raised his head to look at Mu Yan, then looked at Xiao Bao. Mayan's words just now slowly echo in his ears. I shouldn't have healed your wound first. Liu Beiyu's eyes suddenly widen. Master? You healed me. Are you saying that I'm still alive and not a ghost? I'm not dreaming right now, am I? Mu Yan slowly extends her snow-white and slender fingers. Pinching Liu Beiyu's cheek, he fiercely pulls it to the side. Ouch 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 ouch. Ouch ouch ouch. Ouch ouch ouch. Li Hu, please let go. Mu Yan slowly loosens her grip, a smile that isn't a smile. Do you still think that you're dreaming? Liu Beiyu covers half of his bright red cheek, shaking his head with tears in his eyes. I'm not dead. I'm not dead. Master cured me. Then, he realized something. But master, the bones in my arm are all broken, and my tendons and meridians are all shattered or even ruptured. How did you heal me? Also, why do I feel like my strength has increased? I don't feel like I'm at the beginning of the Earth realm anymore. By the way, where's Bai Chen? His injuries are worse than mine. Master, you saved him too, right? Master, you're really amazing. I didn't believe it when others said that you snatched a life from the hands of the King of Hell. But now, your disciple believes it without a doubt. After confirming that he was still alive, Liu Beiyu's words came out in a crackling sound. The corners of Mu Yan's mouth twitched. She felt that it was better for this noisy guy to stay in the realm of stars forever. Chapter 440. Mayan says, I'll have to wait until I see your big brother to confirm the specifics. But I have a rough idea what the cause of his illness is. Before we go back, we have to make a trip to Jingqing Country's Ghost City. To refine the elixir to treat your big brother, we also need to collect some rare herbs. As for Qi Yan Country's ghost city in Xia, and oh, she's already pretty much ransacked it. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to find any rare medicinal herbs. Master, you're amazing. He could actually concoct pills. That whatever Gong Qinxue, whatever Jian Feng, they simply can't compare to Master. Xiao Bao raised his head, his face full of worship. Mother is the best. Mu Yan inexplicably feels a little guilty. She promised the Ying camp, the Tianji unit, and Liu Beiyu that she would refine elixirs. However, ever since the reconstruction of her spiritual meridians, she had yet to attempt alchemy. Mu Yan meets her son and apprentice's eyes that are filled with trust and worship, and she is somewhat worried. If it still failed, her dignity as a mother and Shifu would be completely lost. Jingqing Country, Wangjiang Ghost City. Guests, if you want to enter the Ghost City, please pay 200 gold coins first. Mayan and her group are stopped at the entrance of the Ghost City by the Ghost Envoys. Hearing Wangjiang City's Ghost Envoy's words, Ru Yan can't help but click her tongue. This Ghost City's entrance fee is actually twice as expensive as Xia An's. The ghost messengers who stopped them saw that the man was extraordinarily handsome and the woman was incomparably beautiful. How could he dare to be negligent? A warm smile hung on his face. Hearing Ru Yan's words, he couldn't help but raise his chin, saying rather proudly, "How can Xia An's Ghost City compare to our Wangjiang's Ghost City? Whether it's fighting beasts or rare herbs, we have more than twice as many as Xia An. Whatever treasure you want, whatever entertainment you enjoy, there's nothing you can't get in our Wangjiang's Ghost City." Mu Yan smiled slightly. He did not take out any gold coins, but directly took out a token and gave it to the ghost messenger. The ghost messenger was stunned for a moment before lowering his head to look at the token. When he saw the two words Shinshu written on the token, his eyes suddenly widened. You are the Ghost King's newly appointed Lord Shinshu. The three great ghost markets have all received an order from His Highness the Ghost King, saying that a new Shinshu has been born. No matter which ghost city Shintu appears in, they must receive him well. If they dare to neglect Shinshu Darren and make him unhappy, they can forget about staying in the ghost city in the future. Sir Shinshu, please come inside. The ghost messenger stammered nervously, "This servant will immediately ask the magistrate to entertain you." Looking at the ghost messenger respectfully leading the way in front, Mayan couldn't help but look up at Di Mingju, a smile that isn't a smile, say, "The Ghost King and I are complete strangers, why would he give me such a precious Shinshu token?" Di Mingju's expression doesn't change, his expression indifferent. How would Benju know? Perhaps he thinks that you will become his future mistress, so he's currying favor in advance. Mu Yan. What the hell is a future mistress? However, without waiting for her to ask again, Di Mingju has already picked up Xiao Bao with one hand, and hugs her with the other as he walks forward. Xiao Bao's big eyes kept looking around, and his eyes were filled with curiosity and excitement that a 4-year-old child should have. But there's no tension like when he and Mayan entered the ghost city together. Perhaps in his heart, as long as this lecher is here, Nyangqin won't be in danger. Chapter 441. The ghost envoy quickly leads them to a private room. Soon, a little old man with a handlebar mustache walks in. This one is Su Fu, a magistrate of Wangjiang's ghost city. The little old man looks chubby, smiling like a Maitreya Buddha, but his squinting eyes occasionally reveal a divine light. It lets people know that this person not only has an extremely profound cultivation, but is also very shrewd, with a deep mind. "Excuse me, Shinshu Darren, what brings you to my Wangjiang's ghost city?" Mayan doesn't beat around the bush. Feng Haitang directly hands the list of herbs prepared by Mayan to Su Fu. "Miss needs these rare herbs, how long will it take to prepare them?" Su Fu respectfully takes the list and schemes through it, his pupils slightly contracting. But he quickly hangs a smile, reporting to Shinchudaran, 80% of the herbs here are ready-made, but this azure dragon ginseng, jade mussel flower, cold snow fruit, there are only a few of these in stock, and it may take 2 days to prepare them. No matter, take as many as you have. Mayan lightly says, I will stay in Wangjiang for a few days, and I will send someone to collect the remaining 3 days later. As for the price, it will be calculated according to half of the ghost city's market price. Hearing this, Su Fu's fat face immediately shows a happy smile. It should be known that the Shinchudaran's authority is comparable to that of the Ghost King. The Ghost King can directly take away most of the things in the Ghost City without paying. But the amount of herbs that Mayan wants is really not small. If they are all given away for free, then Wangjiang's Ghost City's loss will not be small. Now that the Shinchudaran is willing to pay half the price to buy these herbs, it is really a pleasant surprise. Su Fu smiles until his teeth can't be seen, and he is extremely attentive. It will take some time to prepare the herbs. Shinchudaran, are you interested in going to the Colosseum? Today's strange beasts are very fierce, and the battle scene will certainly satisfy you, Darren. As soon as Su Fu finishes his words, the fat rabbit that was just nestled in Xiao Bao's arms suddenly stands up. Its long ears sway, and its mung bean eyes emit a hungry and greedy ominous light. It stares straight at Su Fu, itching to pounce on him and have him take him to the Colosseum. It's obviously just a white fluffy chubby rabbit. Su Fu, on the other hand, was startled by Mung Bean's gaze, and he couldn't help but take a step back. Just as he was wondering what this rabbit was, a small hand slapped the rabbit's head. A childish voice rang out, "Don't cause trouble." When the fat rabbit heard its little master's warning, it immediately became listless. He obediently lay down again, but he still couldn't help but stick out his tongue and lick it from time to time. This place is filled with beasts. I want to eat, I want to eat. Ru Yen, who was standing behind Xiao Bao, was speechless. At that time, Xia An's ghost city also lost a large wave of fierce strange beasts. At that time, many ghost officers and magistrates thought that it was haunted. There were so many strange beasts, but even their bones had disappeared. But now, after following the young miss for so long, if she still didn't know the truth, she would be an idiot. The batch of exotic beasts that disappeared back then had most likely entered this rabbit's stomach. Most importantly, it was clearly so small. How did it manage to swallow such a huge exotic beast into its body? Where did all the food go? Should I say, it's really worthy of being the spiritual pet raised by Miss and Little Master. He was different from the others. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.